Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the body. House Bill 522 is an effort that is an attempt to give us guidance for a solution or for a situation that presented itself to us earlier in the year, and that is how to handle an election contest. This was an extremely difficult issue, an extremely emotional issue, which you can't take emotion and politics out of election contests. It's by nature, that's what they are. They're emotional and they're contentious, and to expect them to be anything other than that is probably not realistic. But I do think that we can expect to provide some guidance, and we can expect to provide some clarity in what's going on. And I do want to commend the members of this body for the way that they conducted themselves during this election contest. I want to specifically commend the members of the election contest board for the way they conducted themselves. Particularly want to give a note of thanks to the gentleman from Todd for the way he conducted himself, as well as the meetings and keeping, I think, the process as fairly and transparently run as it could possibly be. I want to commend the minority leader, the gentleman from Elliott. He and I got together at the beginning of session to begin the conversations, and specifically once the election contest was concluded, we got together to see if we could together find a way to provide some direction, to provide some guidance when we have these situations arise. Again, not expecting that we will end the contentious nature of election contests, not expecting that we will provide solutions for every potential elections contest that can arise, but again, to give us guidance to where we are not creating guidelines for a situation as the situation is arising. And I also want to particularly thank the minority's general counsel, as well as the majority's general counsel, as well as committee staff for the work they have done on this. There are a myriad of ways that other states handle this. There's no absolute right or wrong way, and I don't think that this is portends to be absolute right or wrong. But again, it does hope to give us guidance as and hopefully we will never find ourselves in this situation again. But should we, hopefully we will provide a little direction from what we have learned to those people that will follow us. In essence, what House Bill 522 will do is it will trigger an automatic recount for any election for General Assembly as well as statewide offices, and in some rare occasions for congressional offices. But it will trigger an automatic recount if the vote is decided by less than 1/2 of 1% of the total vote. It also will provide for a process by which an election contest or a vote that does not fit within the constraints of that 1/2 of 1%, it will provide a process for which a candidate can request and can petition a court, as other candidates or as other races do, for that recount. And that would be triggered immediately following the recanvass in much the same way as the recanvass. It does still provide that an election can be contested if there are other issues that are involved in an election contest, such as residency, such as ballot access, eligibility. Those things would still be subject to an election contest, which again, by the Constitution, would be handled by this body. So we'll never be able to eliminate the possibility of election contest, but hopefully this will give us guidance and give us some automatic response in the case of very, very close elections. These automatic recounts would be paid for by the state. And if an election contest is triggered beyond that, it will be the responsibility of the petitioning body. With that, I'd like to yield to the gentleman from Elliott for some comments on the bill.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Elliott.
Mr. Speaker, the gentleman from Oldham has covered very well, I think, the aspects of the bill and what we're trying to do. I want to commend him and the majority general counsel along with the minority general counsel. I introduced a bill that he co-sponsored. He introduced a bill that I co-sponsored. And through this process, I got educated a little bit more or better, I guess, than maybe I wanted to. Many of you know there was 9 of us who were selected out of this basket up front and had the opportunity to serve on this panel. And through the education of serving on that panel, we found out through our chair and others, staff, that the statutes that brought all of that here to an election contest was basically the way the statute was written. And the statute was written in a manner that the only recourse or the only avenue that a member of this body or the Senate body had was to come here for an election contest, to not follow the normal procedure of any other candidate that may be on the ballot through the court system. The election contest had to come here. Listening to others who are attorneys in this body and other places, the statute that we currently have on the books is very loose, and is one that can be interpreted in many, many different ways. So with our panel and many of you in this chamber and many others, along with the speaker, we thought it was better to clarify and tighten up the statute to where it did give the exact direction, recourse, avenue that needed to be taken to never put us, hopefully, in the position that we were in when we first come into session. So that is the attempt of this piece of legislation, in a very bipartisan way, to try to get a statute that's very direct, one that is very exact, and one that will be followed, hopefully, the way other candidates on the ballot, besides us, would follow. We would follow that same path of any kind of recourse that we would want to take on an election that is a 1 vote or a 2 vote or within that 0.5%, which would trigger an automatic recount. I think that we have put together a good piece of legislation, one that will hopefully move out of this chamber to the Senate for them to consider over these few days that we have left, and at least lay a foundation that we can build upon in the future. So I'm honored to be a prime co-sponsor with the speaker on this bill as we try to clarify the statute that I think all of us would agree needs to be clarified. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman from Oldham.
Thank you, gentlemen. Mr. Speaker, would you have the clerk report House Committee Substitute 1?
Mr. Clerk, please report.
House Committee Sub 1 to House Bill 522.
Gentleman from Oldham.
Move adoption.
Motion made second for the adoption of House Committee Substitute 1. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, motion carries. House Committee Substitute 1 is adopted. Gentleman from Oldham.
Mr. Speaker, happy to yield to any questions, but otherwise I would move for passage of House Bill 522 as amended by House Committee Substitute 1.
Motion made for the passage of House Bill 522 as amended by House Committee Substitute 1. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll now proceed to vote. Mr. Clerk, sound the chimes. Those in favor, please signify by voting yea on a roll call machine. Those opposed, nay, and the roll call machine is open for your voting. Have all members voted? Would any member like to change or explain their vote? Have all members voted? Clerk will take the roll.